You see some wild stories online about things people have done with AI that's very scary, especially in relation to like how maybe women are treated or portrayed, or people purposely training AI to be mean, even like racist and such. One thing I loved about Mindrift when I started was a lot of the instructions for what we do, there are things that are not allowed. And I love that.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Chris Greco from Mindrift, and I just had a lovely conversation with Amy, one of our AI tutors specializing in editing. She is a published author from the US. She's had a really interesting life, and I can't wait for you to hear more about this. Enjoy. Hi, everyone. Today we have Amy here with us. Amy, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
All great. And let's cut straight to the chase. What can you tell us about yourself?
I love what I do. I'm a writer and an editor. I started out a very long time ago with a creative arts degree, which included audio, video recording, editing, writing, some photography. After that, I went back to school again for some computer, not coding, but general running of a computer. A lot of missteps with jobs and such led me to my first love, which was writing, which I was always told when I was young, you can't do that. You will starve, get a real career, go to college for something else. But I didn't listen. Stubborn like that. Let's see. When my sister-in-law passed away, I took in her daughter to raise her. And because of that, I had to stay home. And I started writing in my free time. I'm like, well, let's give it a try. I started writing mostly SEO for like Yahoo Voices. There was one gentleman that did, I believe they were called PRL, where somebody can buy the article and rewrite it. I did that. And then it just snowballed from there. I signed up for freelancer sites, moved from like web copy and such to short stories, a lot of nonfiction editing and writing. Ended up really getting into helping people write their own stories, people who had great stories in their head, but had no idea how to get it out. So, they send me their idea in this plot, and it was just very exciting to do this for them, see them say, wow, this is exactly what I was thinking, help them finish their books. I did a lot of editing. Oddly enough, a lot of it was sci-fi. I don't know why that is so popular with indie writers. Most of them were independent writers. They weren't published with a publishing house, but that's the way it's going, has been going. There's some great stories out there that people had to tell, and I was so happy to help them tell them. And I started taking more courses for editing in particular. They were like online courses through like University of Michigan, like through Coursera. Like they had a whole bunch I could take, and I just studied and worked and studied and studied until I got to the point where I felt comfortable with my skills. During the pandemic, of course, work dropped way off. So I started homeschooling my son. And he hasn't actually gone back to school. He is learning better at home. So I kind of juggle that with what I do. That's where I am now, I guess.
You are obviously an AI tutor for editing within Mindrift. What is, you spoke about the interesting bit about editing, which is the ability to get a story out, which is not yet perfect.
Right.
What about editing for an artificial intelligence? How does that make you feel, and how does that work for you?
Well, it's interesting because as a writer, you hear AI is going to take your job. I'm like, well, I don't know that there'll ever be AI good enough to actually mimic what's in a person's head. I said, but regardless of what I do, AI is going to continue. Why not jump on board? So I learned about it and I applied with Mindrift. And it's very interesting. I don't completely understand how it works, but I know that what I'm doing as these writers are putting this information in, the machine learns from it. I'm making it pretty, I guess is a poor way to say it, but this information will be useful to a lot of people for a very long time. So I'm my small part of making it what it should be to go in. And I understand writers too, because I was one. So sometimes I can tell where they're going, and it's a matter of a satisfaction in making something the best it can be, I guess.
That's editing at its core. It's making it the best it can be. And there is, of course, an ethical background to what you're actually doing, because you're saying you want to play your part, you want to play your contribution. And the way I feel it, the reason why I want to contribute is because I want to shape AI in a way that it's safe for me, for my
Yes.
for everyone else that is around me. I want to be able to play a part. And it seems like it's the same for you.
Yeah. You see some wild stories online about things people have done with AI that's very scary, especially in relation to like how maybe women are treated or portrayed, or people purposely training AI to be mean, even like racist and such. One thing I loved about Mindrift when I started was a lot of the instructions for what we do, there are things that are not allowed. And I love that. That was a seller for me. Like, they're being responsible. This is being used for good, keeping the hate out, the misinformation, or whatever, the problem of the moment is. So yes, that was a big seller for me, that they're very responsible.
That's actually great to hear, because these assets, these items are actually used to train models that, they will make their way onto production and into the hands of users all around the world. What that
Sure.
means is a small task that is submitted by you or by anyone else could actually end up in the hands of literally anyone. And it needs to be safe. It needs to have the human experience going there and tell people, this is safe to say, this is not safe to say. And sure, we have guidelines, quite stringent guidelines actually in place. But there's always that human layer of, I don't think I should say that. And I'm not going to say that. Now, speaking of, what did you find most unusual within your Mindrift journey compared to your professional experience?
Well, one thing I like is everybody I've worked with has been fantastic. As a freelancer, it's a jungle out there. You don't know who you're going to get. You don't know what they're going to say. I've had some pretty abusive people, hey, I want you to do this project for me. Okay, I'll get back to you in a couple of days, see if I have time. And all of a sudden they're swearing at me. How come I haven't heard from you? Or I had one guy once tell me, well, this writing is really good, but you don't write like a man. So, well, my name is Amy, so I don't know what that even means, but okay. Everybody at Mindrift has been just helpful with a little bit of silly, but professional wise, but like laid back, but professional, maybe is how I should put it. They've all been helpful and kind, patient. Yeah, I mean, it's a good environment, and it's more of, I feel safer working here than dealing with random public. Most people in the random public are great, but once in a while you get that person who kind of scares you a little bit. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It definitely does. And I'm going to be honest, it makes me proud, because we strive really hard to keep the entire community safe, to keep the entire community a good place to be and a place where people want to be. Because you said yourself, sure, you are paid to actually edit tasks and so on and so forth. You have the freedom to actually stop working with us.
Sure. Yeah.
But why would you, if you are in an environment where you actually like working with these people, you actually like hanging out, let me say, there might come a better opportunity, and that's fine. But having a nice work environment it's a great thing to have.
Yes.
Now,
it's definitely one of the best I've had. So
speaking of, are you actually active in the Discord community?
Yeah, I mean, I use it for for company stuff. I don't. Was kind of funny. My 14-year-old son had to show me how to use Discord because I'm, not 20, but but it's interesting. He uses it a lot. I hear him talking to his friends when he's gaming and such. So like, it's nice where I could communicate with my lead or, other editors. But at the same time, sometimes there's a little silly, and, I'm always happy to talk to people.
Now, I've got to ask, what was his reaction when you asked him, hey, please help me with Discord?
Oh, he gave me a smirk. Um, and then he kind of smiled and said, "Sure, Ma." He was kind of just like shaking his head, like, "You're using Discord for—" That's what my older child said too. "You're using Discord for work?" I said, "Yeah, it's actually working out pretty well." So yeah, it was an interesting reaction. He was, "Okay, Mom."
That's brilliant. And I mean, you speak about your children. How do you
Mhm.
actually find your balance between freelancing, between your life within Mindrift, and between being a full-time mom?
Well, thankfully, the older one is on her own. She's actually doing very well. I'm very proud of her. She's 22. She works at an arcade. She's already a manager. So she's doing great. She does call me mom, mom, but that's great because I love that she still connects with me. And my younger one, I said the homeschooling, he's very smart. He just has some focus issues. So there's a time of day I set for school. And then after that, I work. And in between, I'm trying to do the dishes. And thankfully, when my husband comes home, God bless him, he's like, "Just keep working. I'll do the dishes. I'll make dinner. I don't care." So it's not a set schedule every day. It's what happens that day. I just try to follow that lead. But stuff gets done. Sometimes I'm working till 1 in the morning because this is actually when my head is the clearest. So if I get on like at 10 at night and work till 1, for part of my day, that's great. Everybody's in bed. I can work. And then I sneak the other, I try to work 8 hours a day, sneak the other 4 in somewhere else. So it's not any kind of superpower. It's just what needs to be done gets done.
And speaking of what needs to be done, you are a published author.
Mhm,
How did you manage to actually publish? I think it was 3 books you told me.
mhm.
So what was the process behind it? It's not every day you get to speak with someone who published their own books, novels set in England. Is that correct?
Yeah, historical romance set in England. Yeah. So okay, so I actually had a back injury and was laid up. My son was very young at the time, so it was very hard. But while I was laid up and couldn't do much, I just started writing. And when the first one came right out, I was like, "Wow, this is great." It came right out, and I had a couple of friends who were published with this small publisher, and they're like, "Hey, send it to," because the first place I sent it to was like Harlequin, is like the big romance. And they're like, "Well, it's so good, but blah blah blah, rejection." Okay. So I sent it to her and she was like, "Yep, I'll take it." I really got lucky that I knew somebody who was already with them. And then the next one, I think I wrote in 6 months. And then the other one took maybe a year. That it was a very interesting, I got lucky. Like a lot of people go through tons of rejections, and I didn't necessarily need a big publisher. It was more of a, I don't want to say bucket list, more of a thing I wanted to do. And it didn't matter if it made me $1 million. I just wanted to publish. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. I wanted to show my grandparents, bless them, were very much like parents to me. Um, and I published and I handed it to my grandfather, and he was just so proud, and that made me feel so good. And that was worth more than anything else. But it was a lot. I learned a lot through that. The editing, the editing, the editing, the editing, you know, um, approving book covers. It was all very exciting. Fortunately, not the best at marketing. Like what you do, I couldn't do. I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of person. So talking about myself actually is a little painful for me. So the marketing thing was hard, but they did okay. The books did okay. It was very exciting. It's something I did and I'm proud of it, but I'm good.
That's amazing. There's no other way to put it. First of all, because you went and did what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
That's a great thing by itself. And then just to overcome your fear and do things because they need to be done. Uh, I like putting my face in things. Egocentric, narcissistic, and a bunch of other adverbs and adjectives, actually. But the reality is, I think we're all scared to be in front of a camera and just to make ourselves vulnerable.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
to do so, even through a proxy way, as it could be a book, but knowing that it could be read by a lot of people, it's scary to
Mhm.
me. And
It is. Yes.
and it's scary even when I think going to the present age, that we're actually putting ourselves and training artificial intelligence models with our own fears, with our own personas, with everything about ourselves. So is that the same for you? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it is kind of the same. I mean, publishing and, you read your reviews and you grow a thick skin real quick. And it does feel a little the same of putting yourself out there, but it's more anonymous this way. But you're putting your touch on something that will maybe live on, just like a book will. My books will be around longer than I will, and so will this. But it's a way almost to leave a little bit of yourself to better the world, I hope.
Now, going back to Mindrift, we spoke about writing, we spoke about editing, we spoke about your relationships within the community and the team. What actually prompted you to start and to apply with Mindrift?
Well, I was at the point where, like I had said, during the pandemic, a lot of work dried up. And there was one site in particular I found a lot of work through. And I kind of went back and updated everything. And I started looking at the jobs. You can bid on the jobs, how much you'll do it for, and you see what they want. And there's people like, I have an idea for a book. I need 80,000 words. My pay rate is $250. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on out there. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And the other projects I've done have paid more. I always skip over those ones, but those ones seem to be all there is right now. And I'm like, you know what? Good luck with that. Come back to me when you need it done right. But anyway, which happens. I'm not being egotistical or anything. It's happened. Well, I had this guy write it and it's terrible. Can you fix it? So I went on Indeed and put my resume up and I started looking through jobs. And of course, you get these emails. Funnily enough, when I found there was Mindrift and there was another company that kind of did the same thing, and I applied to both, and Mindrift was the one that responded. My husband's like, well, are you sure this is real? Because there's just so many scams out there. And I had already looked into it. And I'm like, yes, it's real. Yes, it's real. He's just like, I don't know. I said, they're not asking me for money. We're good. And it just was like, the feeling from the very beginning was just a good intuition feeling about the company, that this was maybe a direction I could go. And I had actually initially applied as a writer. And then they got back to me and says, hey, we really need editors. And you did well on our test. Would you like being an editor? I said, absolutely. I would. Yes. So, and that's where we went. And it felt good the whole time. Sometimes you just know, you interview with a company, like even in person, you just kind of get a feeling, and it was a good feeling. So I went with it. But yep, I found them on Indeed. So
how long ago was it?
I started in November.
Okay,
so
that's November 23.
Yes. So it was probably like October-ish when because it took a couple weeks to get going.
Brilliant. So you were really one of the first ones to start with us, because we started Mindrift and the AI Tutor endeavor, let me call it, pretty much in Q4 2023. And you went through, I would say, all of it. And by all of it, I meant that the product, the experience, everything is changing. And
yes.
I would say that hopefully it's getting better.
Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it's been 6 months, and how many changes actually went through the platform, went through the different iterations, and you're still here. I'm actually quite curious. For you, what was the biggest change since you started compared to now?
Well, I've had a lot of lead changes, but there were already people I kind of knew. Like, I'm back to Greg now. I'm not sure why. I think they're still sorting. Like, at first, I was the only person or one of the only people in the US. So, there would be Zoom meetings and such, and it's 3:00 in the morning for me. So it was great. They would like try to move it so it wasn't in the middle of the night for me, so I could maybe get up early and be okay. A lot of the work at first was on the original Mindrift page. Right now we're working on Label Studio, which is, I think, a lot better. So that was the biggest change, but it took a little bit to get used to it, but I love it. Like, it's all laid out. If something needs changed, or so, hey, we could use a comment box to, say why we rejected this article and what needs to be fixed. It's like, put it right on. Like, it's been fantastic. So, I mean, it was just I did get the sense there was only a couple editors, and it was really trying to, hey, how many hours can you work? We got all this stuff. And compared to like what I see coming in now, it was very, just a couple of us kind of like, oh, and Greg says, well, I'm ready to throw you to the wolves. I'm like, well, what does that mean? And then I think I emailed him, a week later and said, oh, I know what you mean now. But everything's been great. Like the change has been, I don't want to say it was abrupt. It was like just stuff slowly started changing. They're very upfront. They say, hey, this is what's going on now. Here's what to look for. Send me a message if you don't understand, or, message your lead or whatever. And it's been pretty smooth in my limited experience.
Fantastic. And I mean, to clarify it, a couple of points actually. Label Studio is a platform that we use for editors. The other AI tutors, so writers, annotators, and domain experts actually use the Mindrift platform.
Right.
But that's a different story. The other thing that I would like to say is that I want to give a shout out to Greg. I'm not sure how many people know who Greg is, but he is possibly the backbone of Mindrift. And
I would say so, yes.
One of the best people to work with, just as a shout out to him, because he deserves it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. He's a dynamo. I don't know how he does it.
Oh, nobody does. We're just happy he's here.
Yeah.
Speaking of Greg, what would you actually say to a person who might be considering the role?
Go for it.
I mean, that's possibly the most brilliant answer I could have asked for. It's straight, concise, to the point, and gets the message across. It looks like you're an editor. You know what you're talking about. No, but jokes aside, I'm going to move to the next question, which is, if you feel comfortable sharing, I'd like to learn a little bit more about yourself. So I know you have children, a husband. What do you like doing apart from being a full-time mom, writing and editing? And, well, you must have some free time, possibly even a couple of seconds a day.
Maybe. I have an animal army in my backyard. I feed peanuts too. It's an anxiety release. I'm really into football, American football. I live in Western New York.
I was going to say, what kind of football? Like the real one or the American one?
American football, go Bills. Concerts, music. We don't get to concerts as much. The pandemic screwed everything up. Sometimes I read. I don't have a lot of time to read anymore, but I love reading. I like ignoring housework. That's a big hobby of mine. Hanging out with friends, trying to get my son out of the house. Gen Z, the younger generation, they're kind of like, we don't need to leave the house. And I'm like, come on, let's go. Just taking care of the people I love and myself. And when I was younger, I was out a lot. Now I'm like, I'm really good at home. And these smaller, simple things mean more. Yeah.
Speaking of, what's your favorite book?
Anne Rice, Interview with a Vampire.
Brilliant.
I love that series. Yes.
Yep. And what book will you never stop recommending to somebody who wants to get into reading?
I would say that one. Try that series. Gosh, I don't know. There's another book I loved. I was never one that read a lot of the classic ones, like they, go through in school, like Moby Dick and whatever. I don't know why that happened. I moved around a lot in high school, so I missed. It was odd, but I would recommend anything Anne Rice wrote. Just her touch with detail and pulling you into a scene. You feel like you're there, and incredible humanity she finds in her characters. It's just, even though vampires are obviously fictional, I mean, as far as we know, they're very human in her stories. And it's just a great introduction to really great writing and losing yourself in a fictional world when you need to just get away.
First of all, thank you for the recommendation. I'll definitely have to check it out because I haven't yet. A question kind of related, kind of not. How do you feel the way of writing actually changed from please don't hate me for this, from the analog area to the internet era?
My first books that I read, the first material I had was stuff on my mother's bookshelf, magazines that came in the mail, or on the shelf. Like, I have a lot of memories of sitting in the local pharmacy waiting for certain magazines that came out, and I knew what day they came out. They were about music, and I would be waiting for them. It was very limited what you could get your hands on. A lot of people, especially published authors, kind of look down on people who maybe publish for themselves. I do not. I think if you have something to say, you put the work into it, you get it pretty, and you make it nice, and you put your heart and soul into it, you absolutely have the right to put it out there, let people find it. The same goes with, there's a line between, I mean, if you go to social media, what people say, like, obviously here in the US, we have a big problem with misinformation. Like, there should be some responsibility for what you say, but also people should be able to express themselves. So it is way different what you have access to compared to then, which I think is better. I think it's better. I mean, gatekeeping, like, publishing, if you wanted a book published, somebody had to approve it. Now, you don't have to go through that gate. You can express yourself and put whatever you want out there. It comes down to, I think, personal responsibility, what you put out there, what you don't, what you say. I've kind of moved completely away from posting anything on social media because it's such a mess. But that doesn't mean it's not worth something. So there is more access now as opposed to, when I was young, that I think is better. I think it's better. Yeah.
You've been fantastic, Amy. There is no other way to put it. And simply put, would you like to ask me any question?
Good at that. Usually my questions come to my head about an hour later. How did you get into your job?
That's actually a fun one. You said that in order to get published, you had to know some people at the right time and the right place. Same happened for me. I knew one of the people at Toloka, which then launched Mindrift, and they knew how I worked. They knew my capabilities, my skills, and they felt that I was the perfect match, and they recommended me for a product marketing job at Toloka. From there, I started working on launching Mindrift, and it's been a heck of a ride ever since. But yeah.
I have all the respect in the world for what you do, because with my books, I was trying to market myself was so painful. And you're just like on camera and you love it. And that's great. I love that.
It's, you've got to love what you do. For me, I actually find the best way of saying something, but rather than to tell a story, it's to tell a story to sell something. So there's an additional step. And I love marketing. I love advertising in all its forms. And I love to be able to come through to people in a variety of ways. I mean, it's not that different from actually writing, but it's completely different in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yes. It's the putting yourself out there thing. And I admire that.
It's been a pleasure to have you here, Amy.
Yeah, no problem. Mindrift is great. And if they needed me to do something, I'll do it.